Release the Kraken!
Good afternoon, fellow game designers. Ron here at Lame Duck Studios, and today we're going to look at doing basic animation inside of Maya 2018. Now, this is an animation primer if you have never done animation before, or have never done 3D animation before, but you've done 2D. This is sort of like the beginner tutorial. If you're familiar with animation and you know how to do all that stuff, this is probably not the one for you. But if you're here to learn, stick around. All right? So before we dive into all things being Maya, let's take a look at what animation really is. So if I come over to Photoshop here, I just want to create a small graph. Hopefully you're all familiar with graphing, but here's our graph, and you can look at animation very simply as a graph. And I mention this because when you get into animation, a lot of times you're going to be dealing with curves and modifying values over a graph anyway. So down here we have 0, and then up here we have, some value, and then over here we have t. So this is our value, this is our time, and this is our graph. And all animation is a change in the value over the time. So let's say I move out to a point, and I'll use a different color here just to make it easier. Let's say you move out some point along the timeline. This is a horrible graph, by the way. And you move out to, here. We'll say this is 1, 2, so this is frame 2, right? And this might be position, I don't know, we'll say x3. Okay, so this would be the position of something that has changed over a period of time. And we have our starting point, and we need an ending point. So let's say you can start out here. Maybe this goes from here down to about here, from this point to that point, right? So now we have another change. Let's add one over here. We'll start this one at 0. We'll say this one is over here, right? So now we have a graph. And if we actually create a line to interpret these points, you can see that this has been graphed, right? This is a linear graph. That means that as this value changes, you're going to have a very consistent progression. And then when it gets here, it's going to have a very persistent, going all the way down. If that graph were to curve, you'd have a different type of animation. Okay. And that's all this is. It's just animation over a timeline. So if we come in, or a change in value over time. So I come into here, we have our timeline. In Maya, this is called the time slider. Just so you're aware, scrubbing the time slider in 2018 has been known to cause crashes. What scrubbing is when you click and drag, and then drag along the time slider. I'm going to do it anyway. But it is notorious for crashing in 2018. I believe it's fixed later on, but I haven't tested the other ones out. So we have our time slider, we have our range slider. So the time slider shows all of your frames. Your range slider shows a certain number of frames between the range. So right now I am viewing between frame 1 and frame 120, and you can see there's 1, and my timeline stops at 120. If I drag this range slider, I am now viewing between 54 and 173, and you can see the range starts over here at 54, and it ends over here at 173. I can expand the range by clicking the dot, or I can reduce the range. I can do that on either end. Take note that as I do this on the range slider, this number updating, this number and that number are the same. I can also type that in. Boop. Same thing over here. If I drag this one, you see this one's changing. So this is the value the starting point on the range slider. This is the ending point on the range slider. Conversely, this number here is the first number on the timeline. And this number here is the last number on the timeline, or the maximum number of frames on the timeline. So on this timeline we have a total of 200 frames. I could increase that, I could go to 300. And you can see that I can give a range, expand that all the way out. You can see all the frames from 1 to 300. I could do 3,000 frames. And you can see the range from 1 to 3,000. Okay. Let's go ahead and drop this down to a reasonable number. We'll do 12. And we'll go and create our first object. So let's go ahead and create a sphere. I will hit the scale key, that's R, and then I'll scale it up. Go into a side view here. F to frame it up. Zoom out. So since Z is forward, I'm going to pick this up off the graph here and move it back. And I'm going to set my first key. So setting keys in Maya, they can be done in a few different ways. The hotkey for setting all keys is the S key. So if you click on a frame and then hold down the S key, see it drops in that little red line, and all these become red. That means they've just been keyed. If I go to the next frame over, you'll see that they're pink. Pink means that there's a key set, but this is not the right frame. So over here, recorded somewhere else. So this is telling you that it is recorded somewhere on the timeline, it's just not on that frame. Okay? And then of course no highlight means nothing's recorded. To record just one piece or one attribute, right click on that attribute and then key selected. It'll drop a key there and you'll see the key here. So let's go ahead and animate this. To animate, we need to set a keyframe. So I'll pick a position on my time slider. So here's my position 1. And for this, I just want to animate my linear direction. So I'm going to go and look at my Z value, which is currently negative 646. Go ahead and right click on that, key selected. And now I need to change my value over the time. Let me turn auto key off for a second there. If I go ahead and change my value first, and then change my time, it's going to snap back to the last keyframe. See that? So it's important as you're setting keys to change the time first. So I'm going to go all the way to the end here. After I change my time, I can now change the value. Once the value is changed, I can drop in a key. Right click on it, key selected. And if I were to hit play, you would see the animation happening. If you find that your animation is too fast, we can adjust the playback. Go up to Window, come down to Settings and Preferences, and then Preferences. In here, we'll go down to Settings, make sure that we're at 24 frames per second, and then come down to Time Slider. Scroll down, make sure playback speed is 24 FPS times 1, and then hit Save. And it'll give you a more reasonable playback. Maya is not the most accurate when it comes to playing back, but it's alright. So here it is animating across. Now we only keyed 2 points. These are called keyframes. Everything in between is called an in-between. The nice thing about doing this digitally is that instead of having to animate each individual key, we can set keyframes and allow the computer to do what's called interpolating in between the two frames. So interpolation looks at 2 points and then creates an average of points in between those two, which is what this is. It says, hey, I have this point, I have that point, and this is some value in between. Now I can change this. I can make it go to here, key it, and then at the very next frame, go back, key it again. And then I'll have a playback like this. Right? Because it gets to here, suddenly there's a change, and then it goes forward again. Okay? Go ahead and delete those 2 frames. If you want an object to move faster, you reduce the number of frames between it. So let's say here to there is this fast. Well, I can take this frame, hold Shift, click on it, let go of Shift, and then just drag in the red to move it. And then click off. Now we have that. And you can see I can get from there to there much faster, right? Because it is moving from here to here over a shorter period of time. So consider your frames to be moments in time here. If I want to slow something down, I can increase the number of frames. So I'm going to come down here. I'll type in 24. Drag this out. Click on this frame, I'll hold Shift, click it, let go of Shift. I'll drag this all the way to 24. Now if I hit play, it moves slower. You can also play it in reverse. Okay. So let's have some fun. Let's make this into a bouncing ball. I'm going to go over in the middle here, and let's say right around 5. I'm going to have this go up. Now be aware that I only have my Z value keyframed at this point. So now that I'm changing a different value, I need to key a different value. But watch this. If I key this here, and then I go back to 1, it's still up there. The reason for that is I did not give it a key on the starting frame. So I'm going to go back to there. Let me go ahead and Control Z, Control Z. Here's my starting value. I'm going to go back to 1. Make sure I set my initial key. Now I can set my key here, or I can set it just before the key that I need it to update. But if I set it here, it's going to be a fast update. If I set it here and then let it calculate some in-betweens or interpolate, it'll be a slower update. I'm going to right-click, key selected. So now I have my Y value keyed. I'll go up to frame 5. Move this up into the air. I'm going to right-click, key on my Y value. Now I don't need to key my Z value because that's not going to change. That's only changing between 1 and 24. So be aware of that. You don't have to key every point, and not every point needs to be keyed. Okay? So now if I scrub, I get to here. Look at that. It's a linear, it goes up as a curve, and then it has a linear fall off. Or it plateaus, as they would say. Now you can look at this graphically. If I were to go up to Window, come down to Animation Editors, open up the Graph Editor. Sometimes this opens up down here, which I'm going to do. I'm going to dock it, drag it, and let it. Okay, so this is our Graph Editor. And you can see our 2 points. We have our Z value. It has a curve. So this is our change in value. If you click in here and press F, it'll frame up. You can see we have our change in value. There's our first key, value at 0, or at a time index of 1, I should say. So 1. And then a value of negative 600-ish, 646, right there. And that goes up. As I scrub the timeline, you can see that goes forward in time. And then that tapers off. And this has a bit of a curve to it. Let me take a look at that Y value. If I grab that one, it'll give us a different curve. You can see this is also a little bit of an S curve. But it's a shallower curve. It's not quite as long. So it goes up, and then it levels off. Because there's nothing else past here, it'll just continue. Now we can extend this curve. You can grab that point, middle mouse click over it, and you can extend that. And you can see as I extended it here, it updated it on my timeline. And now I can go ahead and I have a much longer progression. Go ahead and move that back to frame 5. Let's go ahead and add in a new key. I'm going to go forward in time a little bit. I'll go to 10. I'll go down, and then I'll key it. So right click on my Y value, key selected, and you can see a new point has been added. Up and down. If I hit play, we have a little bouncy ball. Let's add a couple more bounces. So 15, go up again. And then somewhere around, I'll go all the way to 24, and I'll put that back to the ground here. Right click it, key it, and we can see how that is interpreted. And you see the ball follows a similar pattern as a curve. It goes up and down. So that is our animation over a point of time, or change in value over time. Okay. Let's look at this in 3D, or in our perspective view here. And you can see the ball is only going in 2 dimensions, right? It's going left and right, up and down, or forward and back, up and down. If I wanted to add another one, let's say I grab this. Remember, I need to set my value, so I'm going to go ahead and do my X value. I'll set that at 0. Somewhere, let's say around 5. I'm going to move it a little bit to the left. Key it. Over at 10, come this way. Key it. And now we don't see that updating here because I don't have that selected, so I'm going to go ahead and select that X, and you can see the value. And you can see this has dropped below 0 because the middle of the line there, that's our 0 plane. And you can see 0 here. So positive and negative values have been set. So anything positive is up here, anything that's negative is down here. 0 is the middle line. And go forward. Move it this way. Key it. And then lastly, I'll go to the last frame and I'll set that back to 0. And then key it. So now we have 3 points of animation. And if I select all 3 points, you can see all 3 curves overlapping. And each one is independent. I can make changes to any one of them to affect how it's being played out. I can raise or lower by grabbing the handle here. And you can see how that affects the initial bounce. So instead of going forward and then curving up, it now tracks backward a little bit. And then goes forward like it's being thrown, like somebody's winding up for a pitch. And they happen to throw a pretty mean curveball. Alright, so that's a very quick overview of the animation. Hopefully it's not too much too soon, but that is the gist of it. Keyframes, in-betweens, and a simple graph to modify your values. If you have any questions, of course, leave them below, and I shall see you next time. Hey guys, thanks for checking out my channel. Misty and I both thank you. If you've enjoyed the video you just watched, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Also, if you have any comments or suggestions for future videos, make sure you leave them down in the comments. I upload new content every Sunday, and I release content every Wednesday. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, I do have a Patreon. Get content early. I also have official merch, Lame Duck Studio merch. It does exist. They do exist. So make sure you stick around for anything new, and I will see you next time.